Polino, your architect, zooming in from Singapore, and we are broadcasting live from Manila, Philippines. And this is the first weekend hangover of Arktoberfest 2020. And online with me is our Vice President for Programs and Development Architect, Archie Tolentino. Hello, Archie.
Hey, Taps, good morning, ladies and
Good
gentlemen. Thank you for
morning.
joining us this Saturday
Kakaiba. Good.
morning.
Yes, morning tayo nagbo-broadcast ngayon. And of course, this program is brought to you by Boysen, the number one paint, Crown Pipes, and of course, Duma Floors, and powered by ITC Corporation. So ano na, ako excited ako for this morning. Hindi
Parang
ko alam kung
nawalan
nasa
yata,
ulirap na yung mga tao.
ako din, parang nawalan yata ng battery yung ano ko, yung relo ko. Kasi usually gabi to.
Oo, usually gabi tayo nagbo-broadcast pero for now meron tayong dahil nga Arktoberfest,
Yes.
'di ba? Ang concept natin is umiinom sa gabi tapos may hangover ngayon.
Yes.
So, lalo na kagabi, ang galing ng episode kagabi, 2 hours nag-run ang episode kagabi. Oh my God, ang galing.
2 hours, 20 minutes.
Yes, na-pressure naman ako. Na-pressure naman ako. Pero of course, nonetheless, this morning, isang urban planning guru ang ating guest for this morning. But before that, of course, tanong ko Archie, in terms of technology, how savvy are you?
Well, dati, mahilig ako mag-manual. Sa technology ngayon, ako, wala, necessity na siya di ba?
Yes, exactly.
Smartphone, tapos meron kang tablet, tapos meron ka ng, ito, yung ginagawa natin ngayon, online, lahat, everything working over the internet. Ang kulang na lang yata sa akin, smartwatch eh. So,
yeah.
Baka naman.
Pag nag-sale yung Apple dito, sabihan kita.
Yan. Ba't mo naman natanong, Taps? Ba't mo naman natanong?
Of course, syempre, because I think na before having a smart city, I think we should also be smart as well as an individual. Smart not in terms of IQ, but in terms of our capabilities, our gadgets, and things like that. Because yun nga, ngayon, we're not dahil nga lalo ngayon na work from home, lockdown, pandemic, we need to be connected at some point, at some ways. So, I think it's good to be living in this era actually right now.
Tama, nagiging necessity na maging connected tayo.
Yeah, exactly.
So, everything we're doing in one place na. Ngayon, karamihan, di ba? Like yung students natin, may online learning. So, there's technology that goes with it. And of course, kailangan hindi lang doon humihinto yung technology setup natin sa bahay. Of course, when you go out, kailangan connected din yan. Saka, in short, there's a whole system that has to be in place for us to be, more. I mean, for us to almost do basic things these days, right? On this pandemic. So, So, today, this morning, like Tam said nga, we have a special guest. Legend to in terms of urban planning, no? Saka medyo matagal na si Sir na nagpa-practice ng kaniyang profession. Hindi nabasa ko Tam yung resume ni Sir. So, konting history digging na rin through sa internet. Kaya ko, wow. Parang hindi pa yata tayo pinapanganak, medyo nagpa-practice na si Sir. So, it's gonna be really an informative and educational morning. Because with us this morning, we have...
Okay, this morning we have, of course, Architect Nathaniel von Einsiedel, of course. Yeah. Pakilala ko na. Okay, an architect and ENP Nathaniel von Einsiedel is the president for the Alliance for Safe, Sustainable, and Resilient Environments, or Assure Incorporated. He's the president of Urban Partnerships Foundation, a trustee of the Heritage Conservation Society, a fellow and past president of the Philippine Institute of Environmental Planners, or PIEP, fellow and past Vice President, United Architects of the Philippines, a director and past president of Chamber of Real Estate Builders and Associations, or CREBA, trustee, he is a trustee for Center for Advanced Philippine Studies, a member of Eastern Regional Organization for Planning and Housing, EROP, a member of the Pacific Rim Council for Urban Development. He got his bachelor's degree in architecture from the University of the Philippines in Diliman, Quezon City in 1968, master's in urban planning from the Columbia University in the United States in 1971. He got his doctoral degree in public administration, specializing in urban management from the Pacific Western University in the United States. Those just are among his what do you call this, achievements. So without further ado, let's have on screen our special guest for this morning, Dr. Nathaniel von Einsiedel.
Doc Dinky, welcome to the show.
Dinky, welcome to the show.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir. How are you this morning, this Saturday morning?
Okay, I'm well. Very good.
Yan.
Naiintriga ako dun sa inyong introduction na sinasabi nyong hindi pa kayo pinanganganak, nagtatrabaho na ako. Parang ubod ng tanda ko na tuloy.
Hindi naman. Grabe.
Hindi naman, sir. Ano yan? Parang just to say na you have a wealth of wisdom. Wisdom na to eh.
Life.
Diba? And we are honored to have you as a guest for us to like listen to you. Yung mga, kasi kami, ano ba naman kami, parang ako pinanganak ako, Power Rangers ang uso.
Okay.
Hindi po ba? Parang ano, kumbaga in the verge of internet age, on the verge of internet age. And alam natin sa planning, pag planning, diba, ano yan, long term eh. So you have to think long term. Sa akin, ang background ko lang is internet, tapos anong mga...
Nag-iba-iba na, sir, ang comprehensive land use planning ng mga cities, hindi pa kami pinapanganak, ganun.
Well, ano naman yan eh. Nung nag-umpisa rin ako, I mean, as an architect, I did not think that I was going to end up in planning. Kumbaga parang napunta lang ako ron kasi masyadong matindi yung competition sa practice ng architecture. Masyadong maraming magagaling na arkitekto nung panahon namin. Siguro hanggang pati ngayon. So I felt I needed to go into some kind of specialization. And napunta ako sa planning, which was not really my first choice of specialization. Ang first choice ko sana was landscape architecture eh. Pero at that time wala pang formal course in landscape architecture. It was just a subject. Anyway, it's a long story. We need another webinar for that.
Oh, yes. Well, pwede naman, sir. Next year, nakabook na uli kayo for Arktoberfest. Bakit hindi?
Okay.
Huwag din natin patagalin. Next month na.
Next month na kagad. Ganyan.
Pero
so, sir, tanong ko lang of course, you are a well-seasoned planner, well-seasoned architect. How do you cope up with the changes in technologies? Lalo na ngayon, we'll be talking about smart cities.
Well, ako I'm not a techie, so I have to rely on my daughter who is more techie than I am. In fact, siya yung nag-set up nitong green screen sa likod ko kasi she teaches online. So she's familiar with mga online teaching, but also I rely a lot on my staff sa office namin. Lahat sila, of course, are technically competent, and so I rely on them. Silang nagtuturo sa akin kung ano mga dapat gawin, especially now na lockdown, work from home. Everything we do is we do online or via cell phone or email or puro technology. As Adrian as Archie mentioned earlier, uh, para bang forced to good tayo na to become uh, at least knowledgeable of the basics. But
Mhm.
itong topic ko kasi about smart cities, I have seen the evolution of smart cities, starting with the introduction of what is referred to as GovTech, or
Okay.
technology in government operations. For example, yung budgeting na pinopost sa internet, so that the citizens can comment on the budget of a city. This started way back in the mid 90s pa. So nag-evolve na tong smart city technology over the years up to what it is now. Of
Mhm.
course, very advanced do sa ibang countries, and in some countries like ours, medyo malayo pa tayo.
Yes, I see. So, sir, I think umiinit na ang ang usapan. I think we have to we you can take all the screen. Ay,
Okay?
share screen ko lang. Wait, ah. Okay. You can the floor is all yours, Doc Dinky. Just say next na lang para po
Okay. Pwede bang ipakita sa screen ko yung buong yung buong PowerPoint, or is that the largest you can do it?
kapag po kasi nakaano tayo, nakatawag dito, nakaganito, sir, medyo maliit po siya.
Oo nga eh. So the biggest that you can make it.
This
Gusto
one.
ko rin taps full screen ko din.
Okay.
Yan.
Okay. Okay, that's fine. That's
Okay.
fine. Oh, sige. Let's go to the next slide. Okay, my presentation will follow the following outline. First of all, defining what a smart city means, and then kung ano yung mga opportunities and innovations that smart city technologies have started that we have started to see. What are the and then following that are the challenges that are encountered in considering or installing smart city technologies. I'll mention some examples of what's being done in a few cities. Then I will go into the indicators of services and quality of life where smart city technologies can be applied to, and then I'll draw some conclusions and some suggested next steps. Okay,
Okay, sir.
so next. Okay, let's go and define what smart city means. Next. Okay, a smart city, as you can imagine, is a territory. It could be a town, it could be an entire city, it could be a province, it could be a region. But it's a place that uses ICT, or information and communication technology, to collect data and to use that information and the analysis of that data to plan and manage the resources, assets, and services of the city in an efficient manner. Okay, so gumagamit siya ng technology to improve the services and the quality of life in the city. It allows the city technologies it allows government officials to interact directly with the public. I will explain this a little bit later, but it concerns both the community, because nga yung community services, and the infrastructure that the community, the city as a whole gets. Okay, so let's move on. Next, please. Yung promise kasi of a technology-enabled city is very large. It's we are seeing it in a number of places. We are experiencing smarter, greener cities, connected transport systems. Dito sa Pilipinas, hindi pa, but in a number of other countries, we are seeing that already, where you have unified ticketing for public transport, like in the case of Singapore, Hong Kong, and some other cities. Meron yung more efficient carbon neutral construction, higher performing and longer lasting assets like wastewater treatment plants, water supply, energy supply, and more recently, we are also seeing faster responses to dealing with the pandemic. And all of this is happening with 5G Wi-Fi. And as we move on in the next following years, we'll see more and more of this technology advancement. Next, please. Okay, what are the smart city opportunities and examples of some innovations? Next. Now, this is a list of the opportunities that are open to cities. Okay, so first of all, yung citywide connectivity. In other words, I mean, you know, we're all familiar with our cell phones, and then also yung internet. So, you know, yun nga lang dito sa atin medyo mabagal pa yung internet. And sometimes nawawala-wala pa yung signal. But this is being addressed, and the companies involved are already expanding their facilities. Also for transportation and mobility, for I mentioned earlier about yung integrated ticketing system. Dito sa atin, hopefully we will be seeing that more and more as itong ating mga transport projects under the Build program of government gets implemented. We also will likely be seeing it in terms also of lighting, particularly street lighting. Also in the management of waste, solid waste as well as wastewater. Also in energy. As I think a number of people will appreciate, there have been a lot of movement towards energy conservation and the use of renewable sources of energy like wind and solar. Yung city administration is also another opportunity, as I mentioned earlier before we started the slideshow. Government, local governments particularly, have been using certain technologies to improve their operations. This started sometime in the mid-90s nung nagkaroon ng when the globalization of the economy started, and then cities started trying to attract investors to come in. So maraming cities ang nag-install ng one-stop shop where the issuance of permits, including building permits, occupancy permits, business licenses, were all computerized. That is what city administration opportunities are about. Also, public safety. Again, this is probably more appreciated in terms of disasters, yung mga warning devices na ini-install ngayon sa mga rivers, like in the case of Marikina, where they are able to predict kung how long the flood will bago umapaw yung tubig sa Marikina River. So as it serves as a warning for people to start moving out. And it's also being done in a number of other places for other kinds of disasters. Also yung, well, related, I already mentioned yung disaster risk management. So related din yun sa public safety. And then yung emergency services, yung emergency response, which is also related to disaster risks and public safety. Water supply. There are now technologies to ensure that the supply of water is continuous, and there are signals pag bumababa yung water tables, and what it sort of prompts government to attend to the problem pag merong ganung problema. Climate change adaptation, where this is monitoring what's happening in the climate. For example, in some places na nakaka-experience ng drought or ng heat wave, So namo-monitor yan, may mga sensors. And so these are a kind of a menu of the kind of services that cities that are open to cities to apply smart city technologies. Next, please. So there are two fundamentals. A lot of data, because as you will appreciate, before we can really make use of the analysis, we have to collect the data. Okay, so kailangan natin ng data, and then the use of technology to automate decision making. So as some of you may be familiar with Excel files na, di ba, nagko-compute na siya agad if you're doing financial tables. Ito, ginagamit ng mga accountants ito for financial management. If i-feed mo lang yung basic data, pagkatapos the program will do the computation, the analysis of that data. So the ultimate smart city requires a wide range of existing as well as still to be invented technologies. Kasi continuing yung technological development. So ngayon, meron na tayong nakikita ng mga sensors, merong mga robotics, and then of course the application of artificial intelligence. Okay. Next. Now, what are some examples of smart city innovations? For example, number one, may mga police officers na ngayon in other countries na yung uniform nila may mga built-in camera. Okay? So these are devices that equip the police with real-time information to improve public awareness and to make better decisions. Para bang na-scan nila agad, nagre-record agad yon. A related innovation is yung vehicle na merong monitor din yung vehicle na mo-monitor kung ano yung nangyayari sa kalye, kung merong mga pedestrians na tatawid, etc. So, these are now some of the more recent smart city innovations that we are seeing in advanced or in highly developed countries. Next. Also, yung open data, you will see in some other cities na meron mga data kiosk where anyone can access data and that contributes to the transparency of government operations and smart city decisions as to, for example, about waste, about traffic, mga ganon. And then a number of smart city infrastructure, for example, solar powered, matagal na to. I mean, we've seen this, yung mga street lights na solar powered. Meron na rin ngayon yung solar powered trash bins in some other places na nagsisignal pag puno na siya na kailangan na siyang kolektahin. So hindi kailangan naglilibot yung truck tapos wala pa palang kukolektahin. By having the smart city sensors, then namo-monitor kung kailan lang talaga kailangang mag-pick up ng garbage. So pollution levels is also one of those that are measured. Air quality also. And then yung traffic density, nakikita kung saan kailangan mag-adjust ka ng timing ng mga traffic lights, etc. Okay, next. Okay, what are the challenges? Next slide, please. Ito yung mga problema na hinaharap ng maraming cities. Here in the Philippines, we are facing these challenges. Number one is yung constantly moving target. In other words, kasi ang city is like an organism. It continues to grow. Lumalaki yung population. There are in-migration, out-migration, merong mga nangyayari sa labas na naapektuhan kung anong nangyayari sa loob ng city. Merong mga earthquakes, merong mga disasters. So, it's a constantly moving target. There are new challenges that come up, new problems that crop up. Like, for example, itong COVID-19 is something that just came up na para bang it was unanticipated. So it's a constantly moving target, and therefore it's not that easy to pinpoint exactly what kind of a technology should the city adopt. Now, another major problem, number two, is the high structural change that is required. For example, funding. Kung bibili ang city ng technology, para kang bumibili ng app for your laptop or for your computer or for your cell phone. Now, if you consider the magnitude of the city, you can just imagine the size of that app that you need to cover the entire city. How much that will yung technology na yon will cost. No. Now also finding the right technology partner. There are a number of ICT companies around. So pwede kang mamili pero sino ba yung pipiliin mo? Also yung problema ng technology glitches. As we know very well, may shelf life yung mga gadgets, mga technological gadgets. Now, kung mag-a-apply ka ng smart city technology, let's say to power to water supply, pag nagkaroon ka ng technological glitch, you cannot afford for your not to have to have the water supply stopped. Hindi ba? Maraming mamamatay pag ganun. If it will take a while before that glitch is fixed. So there are risks like that. Now, yung data management issues also is a problem because you need experts for that. And then yung organizational fragmentation. In other words, madalas kasi nakikita natin sa gobyerno, one department does not talk to the other department. Parang nagkakanya-kanya, di ba? Parang hindi nag-uusap yung DPWH at saka yung DOTR kung anong gagawin nila sa Manila Bay. Parang ganon. Now, sa pagdating naman sa level ng city, yung planning department, kadalasan hindi nakikipag-usap dun sa budget officer. So, gagawa ng plano yung planning department, wala namang palang pera. So, may mga ganong problema yung that's what is called organizational fragmentation. And then very important yung problema ng skills and knowledge requirements. You need a lot of people with the right kind of training and skills to operate your smart city technologies. Now, mataas ang sweldo ng mga taong yan. So ang problema is how can a local government, city or a municipality na medyo mahirap, how can they afford to hire the right kind of people? So these are major problems that we are facing when we talk about adopting smart city technologies. Okay, next please. Now you will see dito sa picture na ito, okay? Na mayroong photo face recognition system sa China. Yung sensor nito, yung camera nito nakakabit sa street light. Okay? Now this raises problems of privacy. And there are some people who do not like that. Like nabanggit kanina, sino ba nagbanggit? Si Archie ba o si Adrian about the mayor of Manila not wanting to adopt yung for contact tracing because of yung invasion of privacy. So, as I'm saying in this slide, what might be something that some people want may not be the same thing that other people want. So baka may conflict of interest. So this is one major challenge, Kasi ang residents of a city, the population of a city is very diverse. There are a lot of people with varying interests, varying priorities, varying concerns. So, medyo mahirap i-reconcile lahat where everybody will be pleased. So, yun ang isang major problem. Okay. Next, please. Also, while analysis, the application of smart city technologies and data analysis can improve yung livability in a city, uh, relying on that alone is also not easy. It's very complicated. Um, Kasi it's really impossible to just rely on technology. Kasi kailangan mo pa rin nung 'di ba? Yung sa computer nga, 'di ba, sa technology na garbage in, garbage out. Kung yung data mo hindi current, uh, what will you analyze, or yung analysis mo will be off. So, it still requires human judgment kung anong kailangan gawin. So the technology, kasi yung technology, yung ICT industry focuses on data collection and analysis. Yun ang kanilang trabaho, yun ang business nila eh. But yung interpretation of what the data means is something that still people or human beings will need to be the ones to do. So that is something I think that's very important to keep in mind. Okay, next. Now, this is not to say that smart city, the idea of a smart city is not a good idea. Okay, it's really more of what kind of data do you really need? What kind of services do you really want to improve? Okay, so it should really be the people, the citizens themselves, who should be the one to identify what they need. It should not be left to the ICT company or to the technology provider to say kung ano ba yung technology kailangang i-apply. Okay? So when we talk about applying smart city technologies, the question we need to ask is that pag in-apply ba natin yan, magi-improve talaga o masosolve talaga yung mga critical urban problems natin? Like for example, problema ng traffic. No? Kung maglalagay ka ba ng mga sensors and monitors, may improve ba talaga yung traffic? Pag hindi mo in-implement yung mass transit system, pag hindi mo nilakihan yung capacity ng mga MRT at LRT, kahit na ilang sensors pang ilagay mo dyan, hindi rin masosolve yung problema. Okay? So that's what it means, that there are the interface between the technology and the human decisions that need to be made. Okay, next please. Now, what are some smart city examples? Next. Okay, this is just a list of some of the cities. They're not all. Marami pang ibang cities na meron ng in-adapt na smart city technologies, but I just listed here para if you want to surf and research more on what the specific cities are doing, then you have a wide choice of cities you want to that you can research on. Okay, next. Now, I picked up itong example ng Rio de Janeiro Operation Center. And the reason I picked this up is because very comprehensive siya. It was established 12 years ago. It monitors the city 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So, continuous monitoring. They have over 1,000 video surveillance cameras all over the city. And they have a team. Now, imagine, they have a team of 500 professionals who take turns in 3 shifts to monitor what is happening in the city. Can you imagine, for example, anong city kaya makaka-afford dito sa Pilipinas ng ganyang karaming tao na nagmo-monitor kung ano nangyayari sa city? But anyway, this is what's being done in Rio de Janeiro. Okay. Anyway, I think you can You can go through some of these details, but uh, naka-link dun sa operation center nila lahat ng mapa ng city. So street maps, excuse me, yung water system, traffic, all kinds of naka GPS, naka GIS maps, yung information together with the data sets. So meron silang real-time tracking of their assets. No? Kasi nga marami silang surveillance cameras all over the place. They're using it on street lights, by the way. Nakakabit sa street lights. Next. So yan ang operation. The picture on the right shows you the screens in their operation center. Real-time ang monitoring nila. No? So naalala ko nung araw when I started doing urban planning work, lahat ito manual. Kukuha ka ng mapa sa nung araw wala pang NAMRIA, it was the BCGS, Bureau of Coast and Geodetic Survey, where you can get the maps. At saka yung mga mapa pa nung araw, yung mga mapang iniwan ng US Army na World War II maps pa, no? Manual lahat 'yun. Walang GIS nung araw. So puro manual. But now you can see here in this in this Rio de Janeiro example na not only are they linked up online, I mean on real time, they also are very comprehensive in terms of covering, okay, what's happening in the entire city 24 hours a day. And also, merong system of alarms pag merong parang mga critical things that are happening. For example, meron sila ditong dun sa mga major street intersections, pag may nagbanggaan, yung nase-sense nung sensor, lumiliwanag yung ilaw ng street lights dun sa intersection. Tumataas yung lumens ba ang tawag doon? Anyway, basta the light becomes brighter when there is an emergency at a particular intersection because of a traffic accident. So immediately napupuntahan agad ng emergency vehicles. Okay? So next. So meron din silang interactive na mga mapa na the population, anybody, actually citizens can go into their operation center. Itong sa Rio de Janeiro, very popular na stambayan yung operation center ng mga reporters and mga radio commentators, yung mga roving reporters, kasi real time na nakikita nila kung anong nangyayari, and then nalalaman agad nila kung saan yung where the emergencies are and what government is going to do. So it involves a lot of people, very interactive yung kanilang operation center. As I said, I chose this as an example because I see this as one of the most comprehensive smart city technology applications. Okay, next. Now let's go to a local example, which is Makati. Nag-umpisa Makati 2017 lang, okay, and they had this ambition to become the digital city and the first smart city in the Philippines. They partnered with Globe. Sila yung nag-umpisa nung GCash at saka yung e-wallet, and then they applied it to some of the services, yung universal card system for health and for social benefits of residents, particularly yung mga senior citizens, and also the employees of the city government. So yung mga pagbabayad ng bills, purchasing of items, yung mga pag-draw ng salary, and the sending and receiving of money were all facilitated between the city government and Globe. Okay, next. After that, nag-further develop ang Makati with the Makati Citizen app, and they partnered with Neo Converge, which is a partnership between PLDT and Smart. And so yung mga access to current events, information, reporting of crime, accidents, etc. So ngayon, it serves a number of individuals, and also serves as the gateway to the Makati free Wi-Fi. So yun ang level of services ngayon na meron sa Makati. I think they're still expanding the coverage. They're continuing to expand the coverage. Pero as you can, if you were to compare it to Rio de Janeiro, di ba? Napaka-basic pa lang nitong sa Makati kumpara dun sa Rio de Janeiro system. Next, please. Now, dahil sa in an earlier slide, I was showing you the opportunities that are available to cities. And also, nagiging problema nga kasi dito is that kadalasan, because of lack of awareness and knowledge, especially those in the local governments, of what the smart city technologies are, ang nangyayari is the ICT company or the technology provider that kind of dictates kung saan i-apply yung technology. Because of that, a group of people, of mga scientists, came up with ISO 37120, the indicators of city services and quality of life. Now, I thought I should present this to give you an idea of what are these indicators of the quality of life and city services na pwedeng dyan itutok or i-focus yung smart city technology. Okay? Medyo mahaba ito, so I'll just go through it quite fast. Okay, next. Of course, on the economy. Like for example, ngayon gusto mo malaman ilang bang bangko, ilang bang money transfer companies ang naka-exist sa isang lugar. Ang problema niyan, pupunta ka pa ngayon dun sa business license office ng isang city or municipality para halungkatin yung record kung ilan nga ba yan. So, if you have the smart city technology, that should be at your fingertips. Also, education, number of teachers per 1,000 population, number of classrooms compared to population, etc., etc. So, these are the two areas where technology can be applied. Next. Of course, energy, yung consumption of energy, and then the sources of energy. Also, yung environment, air pollution, particularly water pollution, greenhouse gas emissions, na monitor yan through the technology. Next. Transportation. For example, how many kilometers of light rail or MRT passengers are there per 1,000 population? Ngayon, pag in-apply mo to sa atin, masyado tayong mababa. No? Kulang na kulang ang ating mass transit. Now, sa urban planning, meron dito ring indicators like, for example, the amount of green open space per 100,000 population. What is the annual number of trees that are planted? These are just examples of the indicators na nakalista dito sa slide. Next. on finance, ano ba sources of income ng isang city or municipality? Is it just real estate taxes? And then ano breakdown on commercial, residential, industrial, business licenses, magkano yan, anong klase businesses ba yan? Baka puro sari-sari stores lang ang marami dun sa isang lugar. So it gives information as to what improvements may be necessary. Another area is fire and emergency response. I already mentioned that earlier. Next. In the governance, like for example, yung mga barangays, ano yung mga critical problems sa mga barangays, ano yung voter participation in the election, and then number of women who vote actually, kasi in a number of other places, parang yung mga babae hindi lumalabas at bumoboto, puro mga lalaki lang. That's something that some people may want to monitor. Also, health. Of course, this is very important now with the COVID-19. Ano ba yung average life expectancy in a particular city or municipality? What are the primary or major causes of deaths or malnutrition or yung mga ganon? Number of doctors per 100,000 population. Ang nakikita natin ngayon na nag-pandemic, kulang ang ating health facilities, di ba? So, if this data were monitored, collected on a regular basis, and then available real time, mas mabilis yung decision making. Okay? Next. Recreation, safety, shelter, these are also other areas where the smart city technologies can be applied. For example, dun sa shelter, number of or percentage of the city population living in slums. Ito matagal ng problema sa Metro Manila to. Kauumpisa ko pa lang ng trabaho sa planning, malaking problema na yung slums. Parang hindi na babawasan. In fact, lumalaki pa yata, no? So, pag tinanong mo naman bawat city, ano ba ang population na nakatira sa slum, puro masyadong generalized yung mga information na ibinibigay. Ang hirap kunin ng data. Tapos, anyway, maraming gaps in terms of the data that's being collected. Okay, next. Of course, solid waste. Ano bang volume ng basura na generate? Pag in-overlay mo sa GIS maps ito, then you can track kung saan lugar malakas mag-generate ng basura, anong klaseng basura, and then saan ba dinadala yan for disposal, ano ba yung mga ruta ng mga garbage trucks, ano yung mga turnaround time nila, from the time they collect, they bring it to the waste disposal site, and then they come back and go around. Yung mga ganong information can be tracked through the smart city technologies applied to waste management. Telecommunication and innovation, I think that's self-explanatory. Next. Wastewater. Ito, yung quality of the water. For example, a percentage of the city's wastewater that has received treatment. Ito, kung monitor talaga yung quality ng tubig sa Manila Bay, malalaman talaga natin whether lumilinis ba talaga yan o hindi, di ba? Instead of just applying cosmetic actions on it. Then yung water and sanitation, yung availability ng potable water, yung quality ng potable water, and also yung mga facilities, sanitation facilities in many communities. One of the major problem in slum areas is itong problema ng sanitation. Kaya yung mga walang mga toilets o walang mga septic tanks, yung mga ganong problema, monitor mo yan in real time, and then magagawa mo ng action kung anong dapat gawin. Ang nangyayari kasi hindi nakokolekta yung data, hindi na-analyze, pagkatapos pinapasa na lang sa susunod na administrasyon. Next. Okay, so as I said, medyo mahaba yung but you know, you have a menu of where this technology, smart city technologies can be applied. Okay, next. Now, lumalabas, when you analyze the situation in the Philippines particularly, the promise of smart cities is harder than what some people make it sound. No, para bang, parang andali-dali lang gawin. Ang problema natin, poor connectivity. We have cumbersome regulations. Like for example, yung nirereklamo ng Globe at ng Smart na para makakuha ng permit para magtayo ng cellphone towers, ang daming requirements, no? Insufficient funding, and then yung skills gap that I was emphasizing later on. This is what is holding back progress in the application of smart city technologies. Next. Now there are four actions that can be taken to speed up the creation of smart cities. One is for government to take the lead, a more proactive lead. No, and I think government with the new Department of Information Communication Technology are already pushing this. So there were already directives to the LGUs na wag nilang pahirapan yung mga telecom companies na magsayo ng cell towers. So meron nang nangyayari dito. Okay? Number two is to adapt to evolving technologies and risks. Kasi ever changing yung technology, it continues to improve. Ang problema, as you know very well, pag naghintay ka lang ng a few months, baka meron ng better model, di ba? Yung gusto mong bili na cellphone or yung laptop or yung whatever technology you're thinking of. So, ang problema dito, may konti pa tayong constraints sa gobyerno when it comes to procurement. Kasi medyo antiquated yung procurement laws natin when it comes to the purchase of technology of smart city technologies. Okay, next. Another to speed up the is to put people-centric data at the center of technology policy. For example, monitoring food and production supply chains. Nakita natin during this pandemic na yung maraming nagugutom kasi hindi makalabas. So nagpupumilit pero magkakasakit naman. Tapos yung mga distribution ng mga pagkain malalayo. So yung lugar where you can buy food stuff are too far away from where people live. So what kind of data can help you address that particular problem? So yung data sharing and interoperability of technology systems is very important so that it can help people get access to the services that they need. Hindi yung para bang iba yung operation nitong ganitong system from another system, or itong office na ito, yung health department, meron siyang biniling o in-install ng technology, iba dun sa technology ng another department. Nakikita natin ngayon in some places na some cities are installing certain contact tracing systems, yung pinag-fill up ka ng form. Hindi ba, para your name, your address, your cell phone number, where you have been in the last 5 days, or yung mga ganong information, etc. Ang nangyayari lang is that pag nagpunta ka sa grocery, ibang form yung papa-fill up sa'yo. Pag nagpunta ka sa bangko, ibang form na naman yung papa-fill up sa'yo. So bakit hindi sila interoperable? Bakit hindi sila i-integrate into a system? Now, I don't know what the solution there is, but I think this is something that needs to be addressed. Then also the use of a broad range of policies, no? For example, encouraging collaboration with academe. Uh, and then yung taking a whole life view of project procurement and contracts, so that instead of just buying off the shelf a particular technology, you buy the services of the technology company, so that pati yung maintenance kasama, pati yung training ng staff nung local government, nung city government or municipal government, kasama dun sa contract.
Comment mo.
So that's what it means by having a broad range of policy levers. Okay, next. So, if a city would like to move forward in adopting smart city technologies, the first thing is to define what its objectives and milestones are and to prepare a roadmap. Parang gumagawa ka ng master plan for an area. Now, but it would be good to adopt an open digital architecture and ecosystem approach so that the data and commands can be shared between systems. Okay? That's what I was mentioning earlier, na interoperable yung mga systems para ma-access ng mga tao. No? And then kakailanganin ng smart city champion because ang problema pag nagpalit ng mayor, palit na naman, umpisa ka na naman sa zero. So there has to be continuity, there has to be somebody that will be pushing and promoting the continuity of the application of this technology. And then to start with the citizens, what are their views, what are their priorities, rather than waiting for the technology or ICT company to dictate what the technology should be. And then explore funding options like public-private partnerships for the installation of the technology. Similar dun sa ginawa ng Makati with Globe and with Smart and PLDT. And to start with what you already have. For example, using the mobile phones. Pareho nung GCash, nung e-wallet, yung mga ganun. Kasi widespread na siya. Alam na siya ng mga tao. Kabisado na siya. So you start with that. Also, maybe you can use the street lights if you want to do monitoring of traffic at key intersections. Yung ganon. And then, of course, looking for the best local practices na mas madaling ma-apply. One city, by the way, that has recently been given an award is Valenzuela. Hindi na umabot yung information that I was trying to get from Mayor Rex Gatchalian of Valenzuela. But yung kanyang parang one-stop shop for permits, including building permits and occupancy permits, they have automated this in Valenzuela. So these are some of the local best practices that are worth looking into. Next. So as we consider the city of the 21st century, we should remember that the things we love about our cities, the parks, the public places, the neighborhood communities, the local culture, the local food, etc., are made and populated by people, not technology. So technology has a place, but that place is not everywhere. Okay, next. So maybe rather than chasing the newest shiny smart city technology, parang bumibili ka ng bagong cellphone, we should redirect some of that energy towards better cities planned, built, and managed with best-in-class, durable approaches to infrastructure and the public realm. As mentioned earlier, it is all right to adopt technology. It has its place, but it cannot solve all the problems of a city. That's it. That's my presentation. Thank you very much. I'm open to questions now. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Dinky.
So,
Dr. Dinky.
Dr. Dinky, ang daming kailangan i-process.
Oo. Nagulat
Oo
ako
nga
dun.
eh. Sorry. Medyo marami.
It's okay. For our audience and viewers, if you have any questions, just type it in our comment sections via, of course, via Facebook and also via YouTube. Okay. Doc Dinky, no, I have few questions. Sabi ko sa iyo, excited talaga ako dito para sa topic na to. So, in the context of Metro Manila, um, how does each city respond in call for smart cities initiative, 'di ba? Individually as cities. Pero I know in order for that to achieve kasi metropolis na tayo sa Manila. So it has to be cohesive. How are they planning to move as one? Do you know some stories regarding that, Ganon?
Well, the mayors of Metro Manila form what is known as the Metro Manila Council.
Mhm.
Okay, and they meet regularly. Nag-uusap sila kung, like for example, they have been meeting more frequently in the past few months because of the pandemic.
Yes.
They've been sharing information and ideas on how to address the challenges brought about by this pandemic. No, some of them are more innovative. Some of them are pero ang problema is that parang kanya-kanya pa rin sila ng galaw. In spite of the fact that they are all members of the Metro Manila Development Council, napaka deeply rooted kasi dito sa sistema natin yung local autonomy ng city or municipality. Kasi think about it, kung ikaw ay mayor of a particular city or municipality, the people who will elect you to office are the people who live in the city that you are running for a position in, di ba? That is your full-time responsibility and commitment. In other words, yung role mo as the mayor of that city is a full-time responsibility. Yung membership mo sa Metro Manila Development Council is part-time and secondary. Di ba? So para bang ang priority mo dun muna sa city mo. Yung kabuuan, yung moving as one. Sa akin kasi, ewan ko kung may jaded lang ako, pero moving as one, parang salita lang yun eh. Hindi naman talaga moving as one eh. Nagkakanya-kanya pa rin eh. Di ba? Yeah, but I think now, well, this pandemic is a good example. Now, when there is a crisis, it forces people to meet and discuss, di ba? Now, pagkatapos nitong crisis, what happens? Balik na naman sa dati. Kanya-kanya pa rin, di ba? So, there have been efforts by certain sectors, particularly yung health practitioners, to adopt some kind of a unified system. And I think yung public health is a good platform for the adoption of smart city technologies. Yun na lang contact tracing eh. Kasi everybody, I think all the towns and cities are into contact tracing anyway. Di ba? So siguro, if they were to come up with a unified effort as a whole, na yung sistema nila ng contact tracing is an integrated system, meron ka pa ring satellite data sets per town, per city, pero pwede mong i-collate. So kasi hindi naman tumitigil yung pandemic sa boundary, di ba? So, in fact, pag sumakay ka ng eroplano nga, pati sa ibang probinsya, dadalhin mo yung virus. But you raised the question Metro Manila. So limit lang muna natin doon para at least yung Metro Manila dahil dito rin naman talaga kasagsagan ng ng
Yes.
problema. And similarly in other places like in the case of Bacolod, mataas ang incidence sa Bacolod, there is also such a thing as Metro Bacolod. Di ba? Hindi nga lang sila formally set up like merong MMDA. Wala pa sila nun. Pero meron na silang Metro Bacolod na nag-uusap-usap na yung mga mayors doon.
There's a movement.
Nagkikita-kita na sila. I think it's the congressmen that bring the mayors together. So meron na silang forum. So pwede na silang mag-act din in an integrated manner. And this is this is widespread throughout the whole country. Meron ng Metro Cagayan de Oro, of course merong Metro Cebu, meron ding Metro Baguio, marami ng metro areas in the Philippines. So meron ng roots of an integrated system.
How about, sir, on the private sector? What are the things that they are doing wrong, or what are the things that they are doing right? Doing wrong and doing right in order to achieve such smart cities initiative.
Well, I think we can go by the experience of Makati where nakipag-partner nga sila with Globe and Smart and PLDT. So it's an example of a public-private partnership. So that yung technology nakakatulong dun sa city in terms of improving its delivery of services. So, but at the same time, dahil hindi naman din siguro ganun ka unlimited yung financial resources ng Makati, they allow the private companies to also conduct business and make money out of the technology that they are providing, di ba? So yun ang para bang you balance the two. You have the services that a city provides to the public, and then you also have the profit motivation of the private business that you also need to balance. Let's see, in essence, yun ang konsepto ng public-private partnership, so that you're able to implement or adopt the technologies to improve the services, the public services in a city.
And also, sir, in terms of integrating, also in terms of course, ngayon naman data collection tayo. I think prerequisite talaga na ma-push through na rin yung national ID. Is it?
Yeah,
right. Because next to national ID, I think what we need to pursue in order to have a cleaner data, I think kailangan din siguro yung one citizen or at least registered phone number. Right? So, sir, with that, do you think with the initiative of the national ID system, at least in Metro Manila, will be one step forward towards greater things to achieve smart cities?
I think so. Kasi para bang I think people are becoming technologically sophisticated. Ito ngang lockdown, hindi ba? Para bang forced good tayo na we have to learn online the technologies that support online learning. So, and online activities and ways of working. So it's the direction I think that is bringing us, and the technology companies, at least the ones that I know, are doing their share. For example, one particular technology company is providing technical assistance to cities and municipalities in the design of of their uh, telecom system. Kasi in a particular any city or municipality, merong what is called the built-up area, yung existing built-up area, yung population area. And then there is the areas where urban expansion is anticipated to happen, di ba? So itong technology companies are now helping the cities in planning the telecommunication system dun sa areas for urban expansion. 'Di ba? So that yung paglelay mo ng mga fiber optics, yung mga cables, yung mga whatever saan yung mga cell sites na identify na in advance. Hindi yung para bang teka muna, saan ba tayo magtatayo? O doon, yan, pwede dyan. Parang hindi nakaplano di ba? Ngayon, medyo na ipaplano na because tumutulong na yung technology companies na mag-provide ng technical assistance to the cities.
It meaning, no, kailangan ang team ngayon ng mga planners, meron na tayong ICT specialist, mga electronics engineers, ganyan.
Well, as you will appreciate naman talaga, ang urban planning naman kasi as contrasted to architecture, urban planning is a team effort. Sa architecture, pwedeng kahit na nag-iisa ka as an architect, pwede ka naman mag-design kung hindi masyadong komplikado yung building. Although, kailangan mo pa rin ng structural at mechanical and di ba, yung mga engineers na katulong. But sa planning kasi talagang kailangan ng mas maraming expertise. So the more complex the city is, the more areas of expertise you need to mobilize para ma-realize yung desired future of that particular city. So tama ka, the ICT person or expert is now becoming more and more an important member of that planning team.
Speaking of ICT, sir, what are the movement of the ICT with regards to this issue?
Well, I'm not that familiar with their detailed operations kasi medyo bago pa rin lang sila, but they're more a policy body, and I think to a certain degree also regulatory. But I would imagine part of their policy is promoting. I mean, why would government set up a separate department just for ICT if it does not see it as having an important role, di ba?
Yes.
So it's largely promoting the industry, the application of the ICT to improve people's lives. Now it's a matter of marrying the business with the services of a city. That's why yung smart city movement is growing. So baka kailangan yung Department of ICT, dapat siguro baka kailangan tulungan pa nila yung mga cities and municipalities to do what needs to be done, rather than just leaving it policy level at the national level. Policy lang. Alam mo naman dito sa atin, pag yung policy nasa national, kailangan mong ibaba yun all the way down.
Yes.
Ang nangyayari kadalasan, naiiwan lang doon sa taas. Hindi nararamdaman yung improvement sa baba. No? So kailangan yun ibaba mo. Now, I don't know whether the DICT has regional offices. Kasi kung wala pa siyang regional office, medyo mahihirapan tumulong yan sa mga individual LGUs kasi nasa Maynila lang sila. Di ba? At saka if they're covering the entire country, and ang number of people nila, baka kailangan makipag-partner sila with academe. So yung mga schools that offer ICT courses can be mobilized to help the local governments with their ICT requirements. Alam mo, meron tayong network of state colleges and universities all over the country. But from my experience, working with some of them, yung after the Yolanda disaster, no? So we were working in the Eastern Visayas area, and we engaged yung mga state colleges and universities. Kulang pa rin sila sa skills sa ICT. Yung GPS, yung GIS system, hindi pa sila well versed doon. So pero sila yung nandun mas malapit, nakakalat sila eh, di ba? Mas malapit sila sa mga LGUs and mandate nila talagang tumulong, but their skills also need to be improved. So I would imagine that the DICT should be helping that, should be funding yung ganong klaseng upgrading of the capabilities of the state colleges and universities.
Very well said. Habang yung dati kong boss are Dr. Yeban, shout out sa iyo. Thank you for sharing our stream. Yeah, because right now there PNU community is actually watching. So yeah, for speaking of state colleges. Also, sir, no, you said kanina at backstage that we are while we are having a chat kaninang umaga, is malayo pa ang Pinas. So, sir, ano po kaya yung prerequisite na hinahanap para ma-fulfill natin yung smart cities?
Well, sa akin kasi isang malaking obstacle is yung we don't have a proper city level or municipal level database that is updated on a regular basis. Requirement ng it's a requirement of DILG and HLURB that every town and city should have a CLUP, Comprehensive Land Use Plan.
Basic.
Now, pag gumagawa ka o nag-a-update ka ng Comprehensive Land Use Plan, you need the data, okay? The problem is that the data is not regularly collected and updated. Now, with the presence of cell phones and laptops and computers, it is now a lot easier to collect the data. Kaya lang, kailangan mong i-embed yung system into the management of the city or municipality. So you start with data management, di ba? Which, okay, nakikita recently because of the pandemic na yung kakulangan ng health facilities, kakulangan ng health professionals. No? Let's start with that. So let's collect data and ipasok natin into a data management system where we can track it, monitor it, and use that information for improving the situation or for addressing the needs. And then let's build it up from there. Di ba? So sa akin yung application ng smart city technology, i-apply muna natin dun sa data management. Kasi hindi ka naman makakagawa talaga ng desisyon kung hindi mo muna kukolektahin yung data eh. Di ba? So dun muna natin itutok, and then para naman siguro maengganyo yung mga politiko, isama na natin yung tracking nung paano ka pwedeng manalo sa susunod na eleksyon. Diba?
Naka-analytics na rin yung...
May analytics ka na may mga political... alam mo, para maging politically acceptable, di ba? Yung answer to the question of what is it in for me, di ba? What will make them win? I think what will help make them win is that if they know where the critical problems are, not just what they are, but where they are, di ba? Yung location. And then pag pinangako niya, pag nangangampanya siya, sabihin niya, ayusin natin ng ganitong problema dito sa lugar ninyo, sa barangay ninyo. He is talking sense, hindi yung parang hugot sa hangin lang, di ba? He can relate it to real life on real time data. Oh, maraming mga bata dito sa inyo malnourished. Oh, ang life expectancy nyo rito hanggang 60 years old lang. Yung mga ganong classic data ba na pwedeng magamit pag nangangampanya. So yung pangako, hindi natatako. Kasi pag nangako ka na wala naman data na pinagbasihan yung pinangako mo, walang nangyayari. Di ba? Pero kung meron ka nun data, pagkatapos accessible pa sa media yung data na yun, nakakatulong din yung media na itulak na, Mayor, yung pinangako mo, ito ang problema, ano ba nangyayari dyan?
Check and
diba?
balance.
So kailangan i-package mo yung yung system in such a way that it also benefits the political objectives of the political leaders, because they also rely on the votes for continuity of their decision making.
Speaking of sir, kanina example mo si Rio de Janeiro, and I believe the urban fabric of Rio de Janeiro is somewhat similar to us. You have slums, they have favelas. Is it? Right? So what are the things that they did right that we still cannot do?
Well, one of the reasons why they have ang dami nilang surveillance cameras. Kasi mataas ang crime rate nila .
Yes.
Di ba? So yung surveillance cameras nila na nakalagay sa mga street lights is also a crime deterrent. So, if you were to siguro correlate yung if you were to use smart data technology about pinpointing, ginagawa ito ng mga police departments . Kaya lang siguro manual lang ginagawa nila. Pero kung ma-digitize mo, ma-GIS mo, etc., pwede mong i-correlate. For example, mataas ang incidence of petty crime in a particular place. Okay? Bakit? Baka siguro isang problema dun. Kulang ng street lights. Pagdating ng 6:00 ng gabi, ang dilim na. Di ba? So, baka siguro, lagyan mo lang ng matinong street lights, mababawasan na yung crime. Hindi mo kailangan magdagdag ng pulis at umorder ng katakot-takot ng firearms at mga vehicles. Di ba? So, may ganung mga correlation, I think, that needs to be looked at. Ang nangyayari nga kasi, yung pulis, mag-i-install na sarili ng sistema. Hiwalay dun sa sistema nung in charge ng street lights. Diba? Kasi public works or engineering office naman yung kabila. Diba? So, yung orchestration kasi, that's why I was using the word management. Kasi there is also a parang a mistaken notion na pag gumawa ka ng magandang master plan, gaganda na yung city mo. Hindi pero a city is an organism It evolves. So kailangan mo ng continuous management. That was the reason why I took my PhD in management, in urban management, because maganda nga yung plano mo. Naiimbitahan ka sa kung saan-saang mga lugar para gumawa ng master plan. De Campanilla yung pangalan mo, master planner ka of world renown, etc. Pero magandang drawing lang yung ginawa mo kung hindi naman na-implement.
Exactly.
Di ba? Kung hindi naman talagang nakatulong dun sa improvement ng buhay ng mga tao dun sa lugar. That's why yung management means looking at the forest, but at the same time basing your data on the trees, di ba? So that makikita mo kung ano yung kailangang improvements sa bawat barangay, but then nakikita mo rin yung correlation of that particular issue with the larger city, di ba? Ang nagiging kadalasang bottleneck or obstacle is nagiging excuse ng maraming local government employees na kulang sila ng technology, wala sila nito, wala sila niyan, etc., di ba? Pero meron silang cellphone, meron silang internet, di ba? So bakit hindi magamit yan? Bakit hindi gamitin yan? Yung mga barangay captains, I'm sure lahat yan may cellphone. Di ba? So somebody just needs to organize it, establish a database, and then hindi mo naman bibiglain na i-fill up lahat ng kailangan mong data eh. Di ba? You build it up over time. So if we can start with public health data, because yun ang ano ngayon, parang yun ang hot issue ngayon. And then relate it with education, relate it with sanitation, relate it with water supply, etc., etc. So pwede mong, so you can see, kailangan mo ng continuity. Now, pag nag-adapt ka ng programa ngayon, pagdating ng susunod na eleksyon at nagbago yung mayor, umpisa ka na naman sa zero?
Back to zero.
Back to zero ka na naman. Ganun ang nangyayari sa atin kadalasan.
Reset.
Diba? So, yun ang isang kailangan natin ma-overcome na kailangan merong some continuity. Now, kung i-involve mo yung mga ordinary citizens dun sa data gathering, yung monitoring, etc., di ba? Makakatulong yun kasi kahit na magbago yung administrasyon, bago yung mayor, yung mga residente nandun pa rin eh. So makikita nila maganda yung inumpisahan, maganda yung ginagawa ni mayor dati, bakit hindi natin ituloy? Di ba? There has to also be that kind of I think citizen awareness and participation. Hindi pwedeng hindi, wala akong pakialam dyan. Kasi pag gano'n ang attitude, wala talagang mangyayari.
Sir, marami pala tayong pumasok na question. Kasi marami-rami because someone from our friend from DOTR si Chaps, di ba?
DOTR.
Our academician, sir, na marami ng tanong. Of course, una nating ipasok sa wife mo, yung question ni Michi.
Sige.
Okay. With the current situation of Metro Manila, what are the top 3 challenges will you prioritize and use smart city approaches or technologies?
Well, definitely isang I think at the top of the priority list here is public health. Yung health facilities, health personnel, and access to these facilities. Kailangan siguro, na-imagine ko lang, kailangan nating i-mapa. Saan ba yung pwedeng puntahan ng tao? Pag GNIS mo, in-overlay mo sa street map or land use map, saan pupunta ang mga tao for healthcare facilities, for health services? Yung mga health centers, barangay health centers, etc. And then assessing whether these are sufficient in terms of number of personnel, in terms of the number of the facilities and their distribution as well, di ba? So I think that's one. That's one area or one priority area that I can see. Um, another area that I can also see is yung the determination of I think yung example kasi na that has become popular in recent months, yung yung 15-minute city ng Paris or the 20-minute city of Melbourne, di ba? Na pwede kang makarating to a cluster of public services within a 15 to 20-minute distance from your place of residence. Because for those of you who might be reading or hearing speakers talk about mixed land use. Pag sinabi mong mix kasi, di ba, dapat nandun na lahat ng essentials na kailangan na in the case of the example of Paris and Melbourne, within 15 to 20 minutes, mararating mo. Either by walking, bicycling, or by public transport. Okay? So, a-assess mo yung mix ng land uses dun sa community. Di ba? And then, right now, para mamalengke yung mga tao, pupunta ka sa malaking palengke. Di ba? Paano mo pwede i-decentralize yun? So that mapalapit sa mga tao yung food supply. Na hindi kailangan magbabiyahe ka ng, ubod ng layo para makapunta sa palengke. Kung pwede mong lakarin, mas magaling. Di ba?
Yes.
So that's another area that I think. Kasi yung related din kasi is the traffic. As we know very well in the case of Metro Manila, traffic is really a major problem. Diba? The thing is that huling-huli kasi yung ating attention being given to mass public transportation. Palagi tayo naghahabol. Pagkatapos, pag naghahabol, nagrereklamo naman yung mga tiga-probinsya na bakit lahat ng investment malalaki puro nasa Metro Manila lang, 'di ba? So hindi rin tuloy makahabol yung mass rapid transit system to the needs. Okay, now ngayon nabuo na yung connection ng SLEX at NLEX.
Yes.
Very recently, just I think the other day. Buo na. Okay? Yung Manila subway is under construction. So from Trinoma, papunta ka ng BGC, punta ka ng NAIA, and then papuntang Alabang at some point in time. Mangyayari na yung subway. Another thing that's also being done is the Mega Manila commuter railway. So you can live in Malolos and work in Tutuban, and you can reach your work coming from Malolos in 15 minutes. So hindi ka kailangan makipagsiksikan sa Tondo. Pwede kang doon sa Malolos o sa Giginto o sa Apalit tumira na medyo mas malinis-linis yung hangin, no? Pero yung trabaho mo pwedeng nasa downtown Manila. So these are improvements that are now taking place, and I would imagine that it would be good to continue on with these improvements and speed it up with the use of smart city technologies, monitoring and for example, yun ngang for transport, yung unified ticketing, so that hindi yung bibili ka ng ticket sa subway. Paglabas mo, lilipat ka sa commuter train, pipila ka na naman para bumili naman ng ticket doon sa commuter train. Para bang ano ba yan? Bakit hindi isang ticket na lang? Di ba? So yung mga ganong improvements I think are something that we should be promoting. And I know this for a fact because I'm involved with both the Mega Manila Subway and the Mega Manila Commuter Railway. Meron kaming pinag-aaralang station, yung sa Nicol Station, where there will be a subway station in the location of where the new Senate will be, okay? Which is also very, in fact, within 400 meters is now the commuter railway station ng Nichols. Magkalapit yun. Ha? Pero, hindi sila integrated. So, lalabas ka dun sa subway station, maglalakad ka sa kalye, tatawid ka ng Chino Roses na ubod ng traffic, pagkatapos lalakarin mo yung Nichols Commuter Railway Station, no? Pipila ka na naman ulit dun. So, kung ma-integrate yung ticketing system through smart city technologies, it will make it a lot more convenient, I think, for people.
Para si Japan, no?
Yeah. Speaking of transportation, sir, pasok natin yung question ni Chaps.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. In investing in ICT in cities, does it improve road safety? Will it improve road safety?
It should. It should. Actually, that's one of the objectives of adopting smart city technologies is to improve road safety. For example, meron tayong pedestrian walkways, di ba? Pero alam mo naman dito sa atin, especially pag walang barrier, walang physical barrier, tatawid kung saan gustong tumawid. Okay? So maraming nagiging aksidente. So the monitoring of where accidents are frequent, if you have the sensors, yung smart city technology with sensors that monitors critical intersections, for example, and then determining ano ba ang cause ng accidents dun sa area na yon, then it can improve maybe the configuration of the intersection. Baka kailangan mong yung pagliko, yung curvature.
Yes.
Diba? When you are either turning left or turning right, baka kailangan i-sharpen mo yung corner. Instead of lalakihan mo yung curvature, liitan mo para mag-slow down yung sasakyan. Di ba? May mga ganong methods, I think, that can be applied. But, you do not just apply it arbitrarily. If you have the smart city technology, then you can pinpoint the location of where such improvements will be necessary. For example, another example, most likely, mas maraming road accidents kung saan malapad yung traffic lane kasi mabilis ang takbo ng mga sasakyan. I'm sure some architects who are participating now have heard or have read about yung traffic calming devices. Dito sa atin, ang pinaka-popular na traffic calming device is a hump. Diba? It's a traffic hump na mapapaiktad ka pag mabilis hindi mo napansin, di ba? Mauuntog ka sa bubong ng sasakyan mo. But there are other methods other than just speed bumps. So pwede mong i-reduce yung width ng travel lane. Like for example, when you're designing a driveway for a residence, gaano kalapad ba yun? Di ba? Usually 3 meters. Pag nagde-design ka ng parking area, gaano kalapad ba yung parking bay? 2.5 meters lang yun, di ba? Okay? So bakit kailangan 4 meters wide yung traffic lane? Dahil daw dinadaanan ng malaking truck. Edi, padaanin mo sa ibang lugar yung mga truck. That's a traffic management issue. So if you have a smart city technology that monitors traffic movement, it can be used by the traffic planners in designing the traffic routing and whatever traffic management configurations are necessary to make it safer for pedestrians and bicyclists to move about. Ang problema dito sa atin kasi is masyadong mabigat ang emphasis na binibigay sa mga motor vehicles rather than pedestrians and cyclists.
Yes.
Ang designers natin dito ng mga kalye, ang orientation puro pangsasakyan. No? So that's why maraming aksidente.
To sum it up, kailangan lang ng collected data, then malalaman yung algorithm, and then therefore we will have a safe plan for road safety. So next question, sir. Okay, nasa transportation po kasi tayo eh. From Joseph Kuwa, nakikita mo yung chip?
Saan siya? Sige, masaya mo.
Okay. His question is, sabi niya, maganda po ang interconnected railways. Matanong ko lang po paano po mapapabilis ang construction ng mga ito. Bakit po inabot ng ilang taon bago matapos ang isang project? Puntong hindi ka na lang ba, sir?
Parang biglang napuno ng...
Actually, binibilisan na nga ngayon dahil nga kaya nung meron nung build program ng gobyerno, binibilisan na. Ang isang malaking bottleneck nga kasi is that pag nagpapalit ang administrasyon, yung priority nagbabago. Parang nag-uumpisa ulit sa zero. So when you're doing major transportation improvement projects like a subway or a railway, it takes many years. It goes beyond the term of office of a president, of one president, di ba? So kailangan talaga may continuity. Actually, maganda rin yung build program in the sense na although yung build ang nagbigay ng pangalan yan is the present administration. But it actually incorporates many of the proposed projects that were approved by the previous administration. So merong continuity. Like for example, yung commuter railway, I have been involved with that since 2010, 2011, something like that. No? So matagal na, no? So ngayon, ang nagde-delay kasi, like for example, pag pinasok ng squatters yung right of way, meron tayong mga batas na hindi mo pwede bastang alisin. Kailangan meron silang mapaglipatan, di ba? So may mga ganong constraints pagdating sa infrastructure, sa transport projects. Like for example, there is another project na matagal nang tinutulak ng mga tao is to revive the Batangas Railway from Calamba to Batangas City. Pero yung right of way ng Philippine National Railways papuntang Batangas na-occupy na ng mga tao. Ang dami nang nakatira dun. So ngayon, to implement that project, you will need to relocate a lot of people. So, hindi siya ganun kadali na gawin kasi nga, you have to deal with some of these constraints. There has been some improvements in the implementation of the road right-of-way acquisition. Yung expropriation proceedings, medyo binago ng konti para mapabilis yung pag-acquire ng government of the right-of-way para ma-speed up yung implementation of the project. Pero pag ang may-ari ng lupa mayaman
Patay.
or politiko na may connection and can afford very good, expensive lawyers, hahanapan niya ng paraan para i-block. Di ba? So hindi, kahit na ang hirap, it's not that easy to implement kahit na meron ng mga ganong improvements because of some of these obstacles. It needs a lot more planning that needs to be done way in advance. It needs yung some kind of an immediate response na kasi sasabihin, teka muna, hindi natin magawa yung project dahil may squatters. Okay? Pero sabihin ng Public Works, hindi ko trabaho yung mag-relocate ng squatters, NHA yan eh. So, patawagan yung NHA. Okay? Sabihin ng NHA, okay, wala sa budget namin yan eh. Kasi ngayon yun lang sinabi. Di, teka muna, hihingi tayo next year pa yan. Di ba? Pagkatapos, magpa-file ng restraining order yung abogado ng may-ari ng lupa. Di ba? Delay ka na naman. So, yun ang the things that we need to deal with in addressing itong paano mo pwedeng mapabilis yung mga projects. Ewan ko.
Patong-patong na, sir.
Parang
na.
matagal ko na, I was involved very many years ago when EDSA did not connect to Rojas Boulevard because there was a private property that was in the middle of the right of way.
What?
Siguro hindi nyo na naalala yun, hindi nyo na inabot yun. Yung EDSA hindi nakakabit sa Rojas Boulevard kasi may nakaharang na isang property ng mayaman and politically connected family. No? Ang tagal nun bago na-resolve. Ang tagal.
Wow.
Yan ang mga na-encounter na commission. That's why yung data, yung monitoring, yung analysis, hindi pwedeng gagawin mo lang kasi meron kang project na iniisip. Dapat yan continuing Continuing talaga dapat yan.
Tama.
So that it is used also for the daily management of the city or municipality.
Tama. Nabanggit ni Doc Dinky kanina, Tams, no, yung sa EDSA. Naalala ko yung same situation yata dito sa may C3. Pagdating dito sa may Araneta, Bonifacio, ang lapad ng C3. Pag dumiretso ka, merong bahay na nakaharang dun sa dulo ng kalye. So yung 6 lanes yata, nagiging 2 lanes na naman. Kasi hindi pa nabibili yata yung bahay or something. So medyo nadidikit yung purpose kasi supposed to be parang daanan ng truck yun eh, di pa papuntang pier. Alternative yun eh. So yung mga ganun situation, practical, pero we have to go through it para magkaroon ng improvement. May dalawang question lang ako, Tamsa. Isingit ko lang. Doc Dinky, kasi yung sa smart cities, although yun nga, yung mga nakikita ko, napakaganda nung kunyari yung vision, perspectives, ganyan. Architect tayo eh. Architect po tayo lahat dito, so more on visualization tayo. So ako naman, nagtataka, okay, yung kanina pa nabanggit ninyo, yung informal sector. So sa akin, parang meron po ba silang lugar? Parang yung previous, po kasi natin, speaker si William T. He believes dun sa, parang yung sectors hindi dapat yan nag-iwa-hiwalay. So in a city, talagang dapat magkakasama yan, each has its place. So smart cities ba, sir, saan nyo na-imagine yung mga informal sector?
Are they included?
Well, kasi you probably are also nadinig nyo na o nabasa nyo na yung one of the policies of government is that of inclusiveness, di ba? That a city or a municipality should be inclusive. In other words, all income groups.
Yes.
Di ba? Hindi ka nag-exclude because mahirap or because walang pag-aari or na property or hindi kayang makabili ng property, etc. So when you say inclusive, it means lahat kasali,
Yes.
no? Ang isang problema, I think, is that the reason why there are a lot of slums and parang nagpo-proliferate yung slums is the absence of or the lack of affordable options, di ba? Sa tingin ko kasi hindi naman siguro gusto ng mga taong tumira sa ilalim ng tulay if they can afford better quality lodging or dwelling units, di ba? But because of the absence of such options, napipilitan sila to do that, to live wherever they can. So it is, in fact, yun nga na-mention ko kanina, isa sa mga naging problems yan dito sa Metro Manila na yung parang hindi makaangat ang maraming informal settlers dun sa sitwasyon nila because of the kakulangan nga ng opportunities. Now, this is why sa akin, I have been, as I mentioned, involved with the commuter rail because one of the things that I have been promoting is the inclusion of affordable housing in transit-oriented development.
Yes, please.
Yung TOD, di ba? Yung TOD. Yung sinabi ko kanina, pwede kang tumira sa Malolos kung saan mura-mura yung lupa, affordable, mas affordable. Pagkatapos gusto mo, ang hanap buhay mo nasa Tondo, nasa Divisoria. And you are there in 15 minutes. In other words, hindi mo kailangang hanapan ng solusyon yung slum upgrading within Metro Manila alone because hindi na pwede yun eh. You have to broaden, you have to find the elbow room to be able to address that problem outside of the boundaries of Metro Manila. And transportation, mass transit is one of the ways of dealing with it. Di ba? Ang nagiging kakulangan lang is yung upgrading ng existing settlements, which is an LGU responsibility. Kung walang toilets, walang septic tank, dapat naman ginagawa ng paraan ng LGU yung problemang yun. Hindi yung tapon lang sa likod ng bahay, di ba? It's a combination, I think, of efforts and at different levels.
Sir, yung kanina, yung TOD, Transport-Oriented Development?
Yes.
Sir, challenge ko ng konti yung idea na yun. Kasi di ba parang nangyayari, once you provide yung like mass transportation, like dito sa may alam ko sa Bulacan, nagkaroon lang ng balita na i-develop yung along the coastal area, di ba? Magkakaroon yata ng highway doon or reclamation. Biglang nag-drive up yung prices ng mga properties around that area. So yung sa relocation, sir, ng mga kaya sabihin slum community dito or yung mga lower income, parang chicken and egg problem. Di ba, sir? Parang...
Well, alam mo, malapit sa puso ko yung problema ng socialized housing or affordable housing. Kasi yan ang unang trabaho sa gobyerno.
Wow. Okay.
And the reason why we have a lack of affordable housing is because tinatak on natin yung presyo ng lupa sa presyo ng housing unit. Okay?
Okay.
At ang nagpapamahal dun sa house and lot package is the price of the land, especially in highly urbanized areas where the jobs and livelihood opportunities are concentrated in, di ba? Kung doon gustong tumira ng mga mahihirap kasi yun ang malapit sa hanap buhay nila. Okay? Doon pinakamahal yung lupa.
Yes.
Okay? That's why yung mass transit system allows them to live further away where the price of land is lower. Okay? And then gives them the option of where the livelihood opportunities may be. It may not necessarily have to be kung saan sila nanggaling. It can be in some other places. Kasi mas madali na nilang marating with a mass transit system. Okay? Now, isa pang pwede kasing gawin is, yun nga, isa-separate mo yung value ng lupa dun sa house and lot package.
Yes.
So, pag nagde-design ka ng subdivision, usually socialized housing, Batas Pambansa 220 standards. So you have a 25 square meter house on a 48 square meter lot or something like that. Okay? Now, yung sinabi mo kanina sa Bulacan, nung nabalita na magbubukas ang bagong highway, biglang nagtaasan ng lupa. Well, that's the dynamics of a market economy.
Tama.
Okay? Well, so alisin mo yung value ng lupa.
Okay.
Okay? Instead na babayaran nung family, nung household, yung presyo, house construction plus land value, house construction lang ang babayaran niya.
Okay. Okay.
Pag gagamit mo yung lupa sa kanya for 99 years,
Okay.
magbabayad lang siya rent sa lupa.
Okay.
It's what is called use of rock. It's a long-term lease.
Okay.
It's usually a 50 plus another 50 years or a 99-year lease. Now, yung lupa na yon can be government-owned or can be owned by a non-profit private foundation na hindi pagkikitaan every time ita-transfer mo yung ownership ng house and lot, tumataas yung presyo ng lupa.
Markup. Yeah.
Kasi yung markup. Kasi hindi mo pinepresyohan yung lupa. In fact, yung bahay, nagdi-diminish pa ng value yun over time.
Yes.
Diba?
Yes.
This is being done in other countries. It's what is called the community land trust. As I said, malapit sa puso ko yung affordable housing issue. That's why napag-aralan ko na yan. Diba? And I have been advocating this. And in fact, my last project when I was with government was the Bliss Housing program in Metro Manila. And we use that system. It's what is called the use of rock. 25 years, renewable for another 25 years. Ang nangyari nga lang, nung nagpalit ng administrasyon from Marcos to Aquino, pinasok ng mga taong hindi naman kwalipikado for Bliss.
Okay.
Biglang nagkaroon ng mga congressman doon, at saka mga kung sino, mga undersecretary doon, na nag-occupy ng mga Bliss units. Biglang nagbebentahan ng rights na ubod ng mahal. In other words, hindi siya na-manage properly. That is why I keep on repeating about the importance of management. Kasi, nag-design ka ng magandang building, affordable, mura lang, sturdy, disaster resilient, etc., etc. Hindi mo naman minanage properly after a while.
Sayang.
Diba? Sayang. So ngayon, parang wala na itinatayo ang gobyernong ganung klaseng housing eh. Diba? But anyway, in answer to your question about yung sa lupa, yung affordable housing, yun nga, if you can separate the value of the land from the price of a house and lot package, it doesn't have to be a subdivision. It can be a high-rise condominium.
High-rise, mid-rise.
Diba? House, yung construction cost lang ang sisingilin mo dun sa tao.
Tama.
para siya maging affordable. Diba?
Maging fixed yung price ng lot. And like you said nga, sir, diba yung price naman ng development, it diminishes over time. So lumalabas parang talaga yung initial cost lang yung babayaran nung...
That's right. Pareho na nangyari sa Singapore, di ba? Sa Singapore, yung public housing that they started in the early 60s or in the mid 60s, di ba? Ginibanan nila yung mga luma eh.
Yes.
Di ba? Nagtatayo na sila ng matataas ngayon. No? Long-term lease lang yun eh. Hindi naman nila binenta yung lupa eh. Di ba? Build yun lang construction cost na sinisingil nila plus yung a little rent on the land just for management purposes. Di ba? Yung mga housing estates sa Singapore.
Tama. Good model nga yun, sir. Pag naghahanap kami ng mga housing models, talagang Singapore, so just to show na hindi lang yung land development yung important.
Alam mo yung dating yung original head ng HDB ng Singapore became a good friend of mine.
Oh wow.
Housing Development Board. The original guy who set it up and became later on the head of URA of the Urban Redevelopment Authority. Naging magkaibigan kami niyan eh. And sabi niya, you know, your problem in the Philippines when it comes to housing is that you overanalyze the problem.
Oh, wow.
Analysis of paralysis daw. Analysis of paralysis daw tayo rito.
Tama.
Analysis or paralysis.
Sobrang isip, hindi na makagalaw. Kailangan na lang gawin. Gawin na lang.
Overthinkers pala tayo.
So dating na yan, nag-iisip pa tayo. Pero sir, I'm just, looking at the time. Medyo napahaba tayo, pero okay lang ba? Last 2 questions na lang, sir.
Sure, go ahead.
Haba na. Tams, meron ka ba nakikita? Ako, meron ako nakitang isa. Ito naman, sir, harps upon doon sa kanina, parang unti-unti nyo nang nababanggit eh. Di ba yung sa long career ninyo as a planner, naging head pa yata kayo ng hindi pa MMDA yata noon eh.
Hindi pa, MMC.
MMC. So, sir,
Metro Manila Commission.
Yes, sir. So, sa dami nung nakita nyo, like, yun, napag-usapan na rin natin ng konting sa administrations, di ba? Sa dami nung nakita nyo ganyan, ano ba sa tingin niyo, sir, yung mga parang, siyempre, parang not ending in a high note, eh, no? Yung mga disappointments nyo or yung parang feeling nyo, sana natuloy or na-carry over dun sa different, through time, parang nagkaroon ng improvements sa, lumalayo tayo ng konti sa smart cities. Pero, at least the improvement of quality of life in the city.
Interesting you brought that up. Kasi isinulat ko lahat yan sa isang libro.
Yan.
Oh my God. Yeah.
I came up with a book that I published, ito lang nakaraang December, about Metro Manila. Kung ano yung mga pinagdaanan ko, kung paano ako nakipagpatintero sa mga 17 mayors ng Metro Manila, paano ko silang nakumbinsi na pumirma ng Metro Manila-wide zoning ordinance.
Oh wow.
Na na-implement namin only for a few years kasi nung nagpalit nga ng gobyerno, nawala yon. Tinanggal yun. At ibinalik yung zoning sa kanya-kanyang city and municipality. We had that system before.
Okay.
Nawala yun. We also had a system ng infrastructure coordination. Kasi, alam naman natin, lahat ng national agencies, whether it be DPWH, DOTR, Department of Housing, Human Settlements and Urban Development, etc., etc. May 5-year plan niyang mga yan eh. Alam nila kung ano yung gusto nilang gawin for the next 5 years. Kinolekta namin lahat yan. Minapa namin lahat yan manually.
Wow.
Okay, kailan itatayo ito? Ha? Ito, saan? Kailan ito itatayo? Sino magtatayo nito? Etc.
Wow.
And then we came up with a prioritization system. Okay? Now, hindi namin magagawa yan na Metro Manila government lang. Kasi Ang tingin sa amin noon ng mga national agencies, para kayong local government lang eh. Sino ba kayo? Di ba? So ang ginawa namin, we set up a system. Kinasama namin ang NEDA, ang Department of Budget and Management, and Department of Finance.
Okay.
Yung tatlong yon, NEDA, Department of Finance, and Department of Budget and Management. Okay? Plus the Metro Manila government. Okay? So, 4 kami. Walang project na gagawin sa Metro Manila unless kaming 4 mag-approve. So, alam namin kung kailan, kung saan, kung magkano, at sino makikinabang. So, it goes through a process. It goes through a process. Nawala na yan. Again, nakasama yan dun sa inalis nung nagpalit ng administrasyon. It is now supposed to be done by the Regional Development Council. But ang nangyari nga sa Metro Manila, ang Regional Development Council, yung 17 mayors, na ang priority, kanya-kanya. Hindi yung overall.
Yep.
Di ba?
Pagalingan
yun ang naging problema.
Pagalingan pa sila. Ito ba yan, sir? Yung sinasabi niyong book?
Yes, that's the one. Metro Manila, My City, My Home.
Yeah. So mukhang kailangan yata no? Required reading for anyone taking up urban planning. Para magandang required.
Well, yun ang reaction ng some of the people who have read it. Na dapat nga daw siguro textbook para doon sa mga nag-urban planning. Kasi marami kong nilagay dyan na hindi mo matututunan sa eskwelahan.
Nako, mukhang kailangan nating set up yung isa pang interview na parang book review ng Manila, My City, My Home. Pero sir, ako mukhang maganda maghanap ng nito.
You know what I can do is I can send you the link kung paano mag-order.
Sige please, sir. Message sa amin.
For anybody who might be interested to order a copy, kasi papadala lang naman by courier.
Yes.
At saka gagamitin natin yung GCash.
Yan.
Para naman ginagamit natin yung smart city technology.
Yeah, parang we walk the talk. Yeah. Sir, may comment lang dito. Galing Sir Dinky, we can listen to you the whole day. Maraming salamat sa insights. I hope a new breed of planners follow your vision and planning for our cities and country. Mabuhay po kayo, sir.
Cheers.
You're welcome.
Ito sir, si Bench, po namin yan. An immediate past president sa chapter. So, marami pa tayong dito na nagko-comment eh. Marami, ito yung book, ito, nagtatanong na Saan daw?
Padala ko yung link after this.
Sige,
okay,
sir.
Yeah, so I think, sir, that's it. Marami pa sana tayong mapag-uusapan. Kaso nag-overtime tayo. And thank you daw, sir, from my former boss, Dr. Felicieban. Thank you daw po, sir. Marami daw po siya natutunan. I think next time we'll have a roundtable discussion of this one. I-invite na natin ang HDB at URA at DICT. Bakit hindi?
Oo.
Yes, lahat na sila.
Para
may smart cities. Ha?
Hindi tayong DOF, ito ba na member?
Alin?
Sa DOF, sa Department of Finance.
I have no idea. Hanapin natin siya.
Anyway, alam nyo ba kung bakit ko sinama yung DOF? Kasi,
bakit po, sir?
Kasi, hindi ka basta-basta makaka-foreign loan nang walang approval ang Department of Finance.
Totoo.
'Di ba? So para ma-coordinate mo yung ma-link mo yung planning, financing and construction, yung influence, mapapansin nyo yung NEDA, Department of Finance at saka Department of Budget and Management, wala silang infrastructure bias, whether it is drainage, kalye, water supply, wala silang infra bias eh. Ang kanila is resource management, financial management. Yun ang ginamit namin na tool for coordination.
Tama, walang political bias, walang kahit ano. It's just that pag to project na to, pumasok sa desk ni DOF, evaluate nila, okay ba, tama ba to, approve. Ganun ba, sir? Parang ganun
Yes, yes. May criteria.
Of course,
Nag-formulate kami ng criteria. At saka kinonsulta naman yung mga line agencies. Kasi required din naman sila noon eh. Required din naman sila eh. It was just that it was a matter of integrating the system.
Tama. Nandun na lahat. Parang sinabi nga ni sir, as a planner, architect kasi, pwede ka mag-design mag-isa. Pero wala kang financer, wala kang client. So, bali wala. Pero as a planner, of course, you have different functions and teams that work to make the plan work. No? Siguro, sir, ano yung, ito, last question. Sorry, Tam, sa bago natin.
Okay lang.
Medyo na-intriga ako dun sa ISO 37120.
Oo.
Ang dami eh. Guideline na pala talaga eh. So, it's almost...
Actually, yung nilagay ko doon are sample indicators lang.
Hindi pa po lahat.
Bawat isa nun may mga indicators. Pag sinerf mo sa net yan, makikita mo, bawat, let's say, yung sa health, maraming primary indicators and secondary indicators. Now, you have to apply, you have to choose. Ano yung i-apply mo, ano yung gagawin mo para sa city mo. So, may flexibility. That's why I was referring to it like a menu. Na pwede kang mamili. Pwede kang mag-prioritize, pwede mong piliin kung ano lang yung i-measure mo. Hindi mo naman kailangan lahat agad eh. Di ba?
Tama. So sir, yung sa ISO na yun, meron na ba kayong alam na city na naka-achieve nung, para ba, certified ISO 37120 city? May mga ganun na ba?
Not that I know of. Siguro baka sa Europe, baka meron na. Kasi alam mo, yung mga European cities kasi very very well advanced sila pagdating sa application ng technology. Hey guys, I need to go at meron pa akong susunod na lecture.
Sorry.
Thank you very much, Sir Dinky. Yes, hopefully we can invite you in the future as well. So yun, maraming salamat. Napasarap ang usapan.
Sir.
Opo, sir. Sige, sir, ilagay na po namin kayo sa backstage or pwede na rin po kayo mag-leave ng studio in case that you need to go.
Okay, sige. Salamat.
Okay. Thank you very much,
okay.
Sir, yung link.
Sir, yung link
link, sir.
Yeah. Padala ko.
Okay, yung link or email ko na lang din po kayo.
Sige. Okay.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Bye.
Yun, guys. Tama. Ang haba. Akala ko mapapaikli lang tayo.
Oo, sarap ng kwentuhan. Akala ko, tama kay umaga kasi, di ba, hindi tayo sanay na umaga. Pero, energetic si Doc Dinky.
Yan.
Saka yung mga natin, yung mga comments natin, wala pouring in ang comments natin eh.
Yes. Although, konti yung comments, but we have a very good number of viewers naman. So maybe nagpo-process pa sila, no? Another episode pa. Sige, invite uli natin. Tignan natin kung paano namin i-curate yung next episodes namin. Yeah. So, of course, Arktoberfest is brought to you by Boysen, the #1 paint. Of course.
#1 paint.
Duma Floors and powered by ITC Corporation. In case that you have missed our episode for today and yesternight, on-demand videos are on our Facebook fan page. So hit the like button and follow us. Of course, I'm also inviting you guys in case na bitin kayo sa mga city na ganyan. I'm also inviting you yung pinopost especially sa mga members namin sa group ng South Triangle chapter na kumuha kayo ng scholarship from DOST Caraga. Kasi ang dami kong in-enrollan ng courses na offeran ng Erasmus. So maraming urban stuff doon. So ayun.
Architecty talaga, oh. Grabe.
Yes, of course, the architecty. So actually marami pa akong tanong about data sana, pero siguro mas maganda kung talagang ICT ang ang isang panelist natin.
Lalo data privacy, di ba?
Data privacy, hindi pa natin napag-usapan yan. But of course, in the context of...
Tama.
So siguro in relation to urban planning and urban and architecture in general, AEC, we'll think about it. Naghahanap na. May email ako. So
Yan.
I think that's it. So guys, have a
Yun.
great day ahead. Have a great weekend. Maraming salamat for watching our episode for October, the first hangover weekend episode of Arktoberfest.
First.
So ayun, yeah, first
Meron
hangover.
next week.
Okay, next week.
Natin next week.
So next week on Friday we have the WAD team, the World Architecture Day team, which is actually headed by our very own past presidents, and of course together with our creative director. Interview natin sila about the happenings, ganyan. And catch also one of the premiere episode kung saan mag-feature kami ng new host. Yan. So yun. Yan.
Kung nasawa na sa mukha namin.
Oo, Friday. And of course, next week, Saturday, may hangover weekend naman tayo. Pero ito, the whole day. The whole day. And international speakers na po tayo. Abangan niyo yan. One from Japan. Just in. Nag-umokay na yung Japanese architect na natin na speaker. Tapos, and 3 from Italy, but they are all over the world. So they will be zooming in from different part of the world. So yun.
Yes.
Of course yun. I guess yun lang. Lalaba pa tayo.
Yun. So tayo? Halfway na tayo na Oktoberfest. Last leg next week. So join us. Tapos sa gabi, huwag nyo kakalimutan, kung nanood kayo ng any episode, magkakaroon tayo ng konting gimmick sa gabi. Magkakaroon ng raffle. So, may prizes tayo to give away. Kung gusto nyo manalo, tune in next week, mag-comment kayo, share nyo yung link sa mga kilala nyo. Yun, tapos closing yung next week's activity. So yun, I hope you guys enjoyed this morning's mabot tayong tanghali. Ang galing. This morning's episode in first edition of the morning after ng Arktoberfest. This has been your host, Archie Tolentino, and
Adrian
Tampolino saying thank you, goodbye, see you next week.
Have a great weekend.
Cheers!
Cheers!
Cheers!